Not now. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Rapid City Area Schools Board of Education regular meeting. Sheila, we will do a roll call, and because is Mrs. Clapham on yet? Okay. Well, until she gets here, let's do roll call.
Troy Carr.
Here.
Jamie Clapham is gonna Zoom later. Katie Urban.
Here.
There she is. Oh, Jamie Clapham.
Here.
Donna Moore is absent with notice. Walt Swan.
Here.
Angela Rafferty.
Here.
Christine Stephenson.
Here.
Marissa Bondness.
Here.
Alina Braun.
Here.
Warren Merrill.
Here. All right, I'd like everyone invited to stand for our pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we will vote on the, to approve the proposed agenda. We do have one minor change. We will be deleting item 12, Foxtrot Bravo. And we'll be deleting item 12, FB. So you can scratch that from our agenda. Any other changes any board member would like to make to the agenda? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Sheila, may we have a roll call, please?
Troy Carr.
Yes.
Jamie Clapham.
Yes.
Katie Urban.
Yes.
Walt Swan.
Yes.
Angela Rafferty.
Yes.
Christine Stephenson.
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, at this time, we'll be having sharing the success, and who will be leading that? Oh, Jennifer, all right.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Roberts. I am the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Innovation for Rapid City Area Schools. And the sharing of success that I'm bringing forward tonight is about junior kindergarten. Last year, RCAS piloted junior kindergarten in 3 of our elementary schools. Joining me are some of the RCAS staff who worked most closely with junior kindergarten students last school year. I'm asking them to step up to the mic to share their name and the school they worked with last year.
Amy Berkey at General Beetle.
We invited other teachers and paraprofessionals, but there's always family conflicts. And so she's the one who is able to join us tonight. And then our principals, some of our principals are also here. back here and Brad, for some of the schools that had junior kindergarten in their buildings. So some of them work in the same position this year, the teachers and paras that worked with our students last year. And a few of them are in new positions, but regardless, we want to recognize the good that came from the work that happened in the first year of junior kindergarten. A reminder to all that junior kindergarten supports students who are kindergarten age, but our assessments show they aren't quite ready for kindergarten yet. Many of them just because they haven't had exposure to some of those skills, some of that learning yet, those things that might be academic, it might be social, it might be emotional, but just in that range there, it shows that maybe they aren't quite ready yet. So the goal of junior kindergarten is to prepare them for kindergarten, and our data that was collected at the start of this school year shows that these teachers and paraprofessionals did an excellent job with this. When school started this August, 37 of the students who had been in junior kindergarten last year were assessed at the beginning of this year, which was their kindergarten year. Our results show that 73% of them, 27 of the 37, scored at or above benchmark on the fall kindergarten composite scores for both reading and math. These outcomes highlight the significant impact of the junior kindergarten program, which provides students with a strong foundation that includes both academic and behavioral support. It gives students essential literacy and numeracy skills and the social emotional readiness needed for school success. The data illustrates how students who participated in junior kindergarten are entering kindergarten more prepared and equipped to thrive in kindergarten and beyond. Congratulations to these teachers for the work they have done. We are continuing junior kindergarten this school year in the 3 schools that did host last year, and 1 more school has been added. And so we just really wanted to note how successful it has been. So good job, you guys. I know she's thinking if I had known I was the only one to represent the whole group, I don't know that I would have shown up, but yeah, okay. But they did an excellent job. So thank you. Yes.
All right, that was awesome. Board member, Mrs. Clapham.
Yes, I just wanted to, one, that's wonderful. I'm so excited to hear that progress and just a really direct illustration of investment in our strategic plan and in kids. I just was gonna ask Ms. Robertson, I think I know the answer, but are we going to track this cohort?
Yes. Yes, we will continue to track this cohort and our future groups and kind of see how things progress. On the data that we gave you, some of the group numbers with the percentages there, we didn't put in some of the numbers because that group is so small that it would make students identifiable. So if you kind of wondered about that and why we went with the percentages instead, that's why. So.
Stephenson.
Thanks. I think I have enough questions about junior K and some of the procedural, like what got put in place, how easy it'll be to transfer it to other schools. I have enough questions about that I hope it comes up at a board meeting and we can get a little more in-depth update on the program and what's coming next and what you're planning for next year. Because what I'll say tonight about this is that this is remarkable and it makes me super proud of the schools that did this work. I think, and thank you for being a teacher who stood up and said, I'll do this, because I think that is a really an incredibly brave thing to do. I mean, for me in my profession, if someone said, oh, can you just pivot and do something you kind of do, but do it a little differently and with a different age of kids, or well, not age, but I think that would be challenging. So I'm super thankful to the staff that took this on and proud of these results. And I hope we see more of it in coming years.
Mrs. Urban, just you. Oh. Okay, so Mrs. Urban and then we'll.
This is just really exciting data. I was excited when I saw it was happening last spring. And I think this just points to the importance of early learning, and I hope our legislators take note because we need that in this state. And I understand all the challenges with expansion, but I really hope that at some point we'll have the resources to do that. Thank you so much for your work.
Hey, Ms. Bradford.
How many students do you have in your classroom?
It varies, but we do have smaller numbers. We've capped it at 18 in the junior kindergarten classrooms.
Okay.
And some of the buildings right now are full. I think one of them is not. They don't have quite as many students. We didn't have as many people accept our offer.
Okay.
We hope with people seeing what's coming of it, that they'll change their minds. And just, we are so excited in looking at how this can change a child's entire trajectory. Because typically we see them maybe come and be not quite kindergarten ready, and we don't necessarily see them catch up the way we want to. And this, like resetting that foundation, just knowing that starting at the baseline or above just makes all the difference. Where typically we see a student who's not kindergarten ready, that they're scoring a little bit below that at the beginning of the year. And then, you know, we work and work and work, and we know the students work and we know the family works. But there's a lot of times we see that gap just get wider and wider as they go through school. And so seeing that it was closed before starting kindergarten, it just, I mean, it's one of those moments where you think this could make all the difference to their entire school career.
It's a big win for everyone, because kindergarten is such a foundational level. That's
Mhm.
where they learn everything. And I think this is wonderful. I'm
Yeah.
really excited.
Yeah.
And so happy for you guys. And I think it's wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, as we're just closing up with the attendance awareness month, and just we know that regular attendance in kindergarten is one of the best predictors of reading by third grade, and reading by third grade is one of the best predictors of graduating from high school. And so being able to make some headway before they start kindergarten, just knowing how that, like we said, that can change the trajectory, you know, we're not that as concerned. I mean, the likelihood that they'll ever be repeating a grade or anything is just so much smaller. That is really exciting. So.
Okay, Dr. Strasser.
I just wanted to say from a standpoint of putting the program in, the principals at each building, three of them which are here, put a lot of time and effort into making these programs happen, and the flexibility and commitment it takes to maneuver things to add a section of junior K. It's not an easy task, but they've done it, and there's challenges with staffing and logistics. Anytime you add a program, which may seem not like a big deal, but it is a big deal. So that and the way they've supported their teachers to make it successful, I think has been awesome and commendable.
Mrs. Stephenson.
I'm sorry, I just had one other thought. We got a pretty good report mid-year about statistics. I think, and this is just to clarify for people listening, we think of junior K as helping those kids who are behind and not ready for kindergarten. But the group that it also helps is the kids that then are in the regular kindergarten class without this cohort of kids who are not quite ready for it. And we got some good data mid-year about testing that seemed like that group of kindergartners was also making more progress. And I'd love an update on how that first group of kindergartners finished the year compared to prior years at your schools.
I'm excited about this program. I'm proud that our district has this. I want to thank the principals and the teachers and the staff and Dr. Thompson and the staff for doing this. And it just makes me exciting. And as was mentioned, that so many kids, when you start off behind, when do you catch up? And the truth is you usually don't. But this is amazing for our district that we are catching these kids early and getting them on the right path early. And the board has harped over and over and over again about the stories of our district and the good things that are happening. And so, Dr. Thompson, I think this is in particular a story that the community needs to know, that we are specifically addressing. So when you get beat up about, when we get beat up about, well, what are you doing about graduation rates? Well, this is what we're doing. And unfortunately, I probably won't be on the board when these kids graduate, but right? in 12 years. But somewhere in the back of my mind or wherever I am, I will know that this graduation class started in junior K, and they can attribute their success to this program. So thank you so very much, everyone that's doing what you're doing. Okay, thank you for that. That was an awesome sharing the success. All right, we have no open forums, which means we have no board response to open forum. At this time, we'll have our student reports. This is exciting too, an awesome part of this Rapid City Area Schools Board, that we have representation from the two high schools and our alternative academy. And tonight we will go in this order: Central, Stevens, and Rapid City Alternative Academy. So I'd like to welcome and congratulate and introduce you to Marissa Bondness. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Bonsness, yeah.
Bonsness. All right. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Good evening, board. I hope you're all doing well tonight. My name is Marissa Bonsness, and I am a senior at Central High School. Today, I will be reporting on all things currently happening in the Central life. To begin, students returned this year to a much renovated school building. New carpets and updated bathrooms have been installed to facilitate a better learning environment. From personal experience, I can tell you firsthand that it has made an incredibly positive difference in how we feel in the school and the behavior of our peers. A big shout out to Jade Clement, School Construction, and our RCAS facilities team for the much needed facelift. The library is still undergoing renovations, but will be open to students soon, new and improved. 2 weeks ago, Central's homecoming theme was Cobbler Legends. We saw a great turnout and strong school spirit during the week's daily activities, Coronation Pep Assembly, bonfire, and the homecoming game and dance. The highlight for me was the Pep Assembly, where we saw the crown passed down from the 1970 Central High School homecoming queen, which was just a very cool thing to see. Our freshman class just took part in the first ever 20-day challenge, where over 200 students were rewarded with a trip to Reptile Gardens for meeting expectations regarding behavior, attendance, and academics. Like Stevens, our school proudly hosted the Stars College Fair this past week, in which some of the most prestigious colleges in the nation were in attendance. Hundreds of Central students were able to personally interact with admissions officers, ask important questions, and collect free resources for their future. Also last week, a group of Central students volunteered at Feeding South Dakota, where they sorted over 3,000 pounds of produce to distribute within our community. As for activities at Central, this year we've welcomed a new head varsity football coach, Mike McCulley. It's really been nice to see the football team be more competitive this year. Over the past 2 weeks, our cheer, hip hop, and dance teams placed first overall in their competitions at Spearfish and Stevens, respectively. Today, our boys and girls varsity soccer teams are competing in their playoff games of the season. And on October 10th, Central varsity football will face off against Sioux Falls Lincoln at the O'Hara Stadium. Lastly, I am thrilled to announce a new endowment fund initiative our school has launched in partnership with the Rapid City Public Schools Foundation called the Always a Cobbler Fund. The goal of this fund is to raise $1 million to support students financially in our activities for generations of cobblers to come. Notably, staff have already raised $10,000 during the span of one meeting, and the Black Hills Area Community Foundation has promised to match another $20,000 raised. And with that, I leave you all with our cherished motto, once a cobbler, always a cobbler. Thank you.
Any question for Ms. Bonsness, Mrs. Urban?
Thank you for that very robust report. I just wanted to point out something that you said and make sure we reiterate it, that school facilities matter. And your comments about how it feels different, I just think are so important, especially as we have the conversation about a bond moving forward. And then whoever was responsible for the college fair, I'm so grateful. I don't ever remember a time where we had Dartmouth and Stanford and all of these schools out here showing kids what's possible. I think sometimes it seems like they're out of reach, but I looked at a lot of the stuff that they brought home and it's, if you make under 100,000, your tuition and your housing are paid for at a number of these schools. And so whoever put that together and got those schools out here, I'm just really grateful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Does anybody know who put it together? A mystery.
School council? I think the school.
The school counselor. Okay, all right, that's awesome. Thank you. Any more questions? All right, from Stevens, Miss Elena Braun.
All right, I'm Elena Braun. I'm a senior at Stevens High School. Stevens is starting the year very energetically. Our chapter of Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA, is putting on their annual trunk or treat on October 30th, where local elementary school students can have fun and safely collect candy up at Stevens. Additionally, Stevens is highlighting Red Ribbon Week again this week and again this year with a fun family night during parent-teacher conferences on the 21st of October. We are bringing law enforcement officers to do information sessions about the consequences of drug use, and our clubs at Stevens will set up booths to educate our students about things they can safely get involved in. This is kind of new at Stevens. Red Ribbon Week hasn't been a huge thing, but we're trying to get that restarted, get the information out there to kids. Our Stevens sports teams have also been excelling this year. The Stevens tennis team, which I'm proud to be a part of, is currently ranked #1 in the state. We are 21-0 and are looking forward to defending our state championship at state this week. We leave tomorrow morning. The Stevens girls soccer team is currently ranked #1 in the state. They are 12-1 and are eyeing the state champion trophy at state, which will take place in Rapid City this year. And the first round matches for boys and girls are going on right now. The boys are playing, the girls are playing at 6. Boys are playing the Brandon Valley Lynx and the girls are playing the Jefferson Cavaliers, I think. So the Stevens boys soccer team is currently 11-1-1 and they're ranked 4th in the state. So they have high hopes going into state this month. Stevens had a very successful homecoming week. Students were excited to dress up for themes like Denim Out and love the dance theme of Rio. During the week, we had our first Ironman volleyball game, and despite the weather, the Powerpuff game was also a success. During homecoming week, Stevens wanted to highlight that September is Suicide Awareness Month. We chalked the walk on September 17th and 18th with various clubs writing inspirational messages on our entrances. Stevens is dedicated to making all students feel welcome and appreciated. Additionally, on October 2nd, 2025, Stevens hosted an incredible college fair for our students. Representatives from Notre Dame, Brown, Yale, Stanford, Caltech, Dartmouth, University of Chicago, and more attended. This was a unique opportunity for Stevens students to get to know admissions representatives from top colleges. Our students, especially seniors, were incredibly excited for this opportunity, and the halls of the Link were packed with students considering what they wanted to do in the future. At this meeting, I would like to spotlight George Dragoo. Mr. Dragoo is one of our band directors at Stevens High School. The band is currently working on their marching show, Imaginarium, and the concert bands are preparing for their annual concert on October 14th. And the jazz bands are working on music for the annual Jazz Potluck. Mr. Dragoo loves to teach and aspires to live up to the example of several teachers that have shaped his life. In his free time, Mr. Dragoo hangs out with his wife and builds Legos. So, thank you, board.
All right, thank you very much for that awesome report. Any questions for Mrs. Braun, Miss Braun? All right, up next, Rapid City Alternative Academy, and we have Mr. Warren Merrill. So you're up.
Hi, I'm Warren Merrill, and I'm here to share a quick update about what's going on at RCAA. The 2025-2026 school year is off to a great start. We have 4 discovery cohorts for Q1. In our Eagles Path program, we're focusing on building a positive culture where everyone feels supported. One way we do that is through a daily circle. Each class runs them a little differently, but the goal is the same, to get to know each other better and support each other in and out of the classroom. Q2, we will have 2 cohorts. We are anticipating needing at least 2 or 3 cohorts for Q3. At RCAA, we also follow a 5 A's and 6 P's, which guides us how we act, treat each other, and stay on track for graduation. We had our first quarter parent-teacher conference. It was bigger than last year. We had walking tacos, a big thanks to the federal grant office. Played games, won door prizes, and families got to talk about their students with their teachers. We also have a lot of fun opportunities for students. There's an open gym every Tuesday and Thursday for basketball and volleyball. Thanks to Ms. Harms for hanging out with us. Plus, this year we started an activities club and a student leadership council. Student leadership meets every other week to share ideas and work on ways to make our school even better. While speaking of student leadership, we are trying to get more of a student's perspective on different activities and events we have to offer and try to build at RCAA. We also want to get more involved in our community by volunteering and perhaps fundraising. One area we are focusing on as a school is average daily attendance. It's something we struggle with. Students and staff are working on creating more awareness and figuring out ways to improve attendance together. And as the end of the first quarter approaches, many of us are working hard to earn at least a C or higher in math and English. Overall, this year feels positive and students are motivated and supported to do well. Thank you for listening.
All right, again, another wonderful report. Board members, any questions or comments? Mrs. Stephenson?
Yeah, thanks, Warren. I love that report. The Student Leadership Council is new this year and you're on it.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And then the open gyms are new this year.
Yeah.
Do you know how many kids show up typically to open gym?
I actually haven't went there yet, but I heard they can at least run like a 5-on-5 and then they have like a full volleyball game at least every time. So it's a good amount of people.
I'm super happy. Thanks to the Rapid City Public School Foundation, the Wilson PTA just read a book called The Anxious Generation, and they talked about the importance of just free play as you're growing up. And so really glad you have that there. And I think we should have more of that.
All right, Ms. Urban.
I just want to say those were all really great reports. You guys did a good job. And also, I just want to encourage you as you are on the board this year to weigh in on various topics. We want to hear your perspective. That's part of the reason you're here too. So don't be shy. Raise your hand and we'll hear your input as well.
And I was just going to, Ms. Urban read my mind. I was just going to make sure that you understood that you could ask questions, you can make comments. Obviously, you don't get a vote, but again, we'd love to hear the questions that you have and the comments that you make. So feel free to do that. All right. At this time, you'll have our superintendent report from Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Bishop Carr. I only have 2 topics this evening. The first will be fairly short, but the second will take some time, as I forewarned you. First, I want to talk about the federal closure. Many people have asked how the federal shutdown will affect public schools. In this case, I can say thankfully, a large majority of our funding comes from property taxes and the state of South Dakota. We have a much smaller percentage that actually comes from the federal government. However, we still are very reliant on that federal funding to operate some very important programs within our school. We did receive notice from the Federal Office of Elementary and Secondary Education indicating that the lapse in appropriations or shutdown will not impact our ability to access funds that the department has already obligated to us. According to that notice, this includes discretionary grants, formula grants, the ESEA, and the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. They did not specifically reference our free and reduced lunch funding, but those should run just the same. What schools most likely will notice is that department staff are furloughed, which means they won't be available to assist us with questions or concerns. And it is possible that if the shutdown were to last an extended period of time, we could experience delays in the processing and receipts of our funds. That is one reason why it is important for districts to maintain a healthy cash balance. We know that we'll eventually receive our federal funding, but we may have to rely on our cash balances for a period of time, depending on how long the shutdown runs. I would also like to note that many families may be experiencing financial uncertainty during this government closure. Please know that families can apply for free or reduced lunch price meals at any time, specifically as a result of loss of income. That's just one small way that we may be able to ease the burden for families who may have one or even more adults who are furloughed and not receiving income at this time. My second topic is strategic planning. I have our pillar champions here tonight. That's why our audience is so large. They are here to update you on our 2025-2026 strategic planning goals and metrics. So I think Mr. Strasser is up first.
All right, good evening, board. As we work through the strategic plan and carrying out the 5 pillars, we wanted to bring forward the goals that we've established, along with some of the actions that we're currently working through. This is a graphic that you've seen before. It really kind of goes through our improvement cycle and things that we do in the fall. And as you can see as you go up, you've got the October timeframe, and we're in cycle 1 of that short cycle of improvement. And part of that is sharing out our goals and some of the specific actions we're taking right now. In January and February, you can look forward to a mid-year report. We continue our work in March and April around those short cycles of improvement, and then a final report out in the June timeframe. When we work through this, again, this is a slide that you've seen before, but we often say that we're learning leaders leading a learning organization, and that in a culture of progress, we're continually asking ourselves as leaders, what are the things that we're learning? What are the barriers that we're encountering? What's getting in the way of improvement? Do we have the resources that we need to carry out certain actions and certain programming? And ultimately, how do we get to that? What does better look like? So those are the key things that guide our thinking around cycles of improvement. So tonight you're going to hear from each of our 5 pillar teams or champions, and they're going to share out where we're currently at today. And we're going to start with our communications pillar. So I will turn it over to Ms. Schaefbauer and Mr. Daniel.
Good evening, board. So I'm going to share the goals that we have with you that all of you have seen before. These goals are measured by means of 3 different surveys. The first one is a district services survey, and we look at accessibility and accuracy. Our goals numbers for the 25-26 year is 4.22 for accessibility and a 4.30 for accuracy. Should have made this font bigger. Employee experience survey, I believe organizational level information is communicated in a timely manner across the organization. Our goal for that is a 3.63. This was when we almost met our goal last time, which was a positive thing. The second one with employee experience survey is I have a clear understanding of the mission and goals of my organization. And we're shooting for a 4.00 on that one. The last one is a parent caregiver survey. The goal for this one is that I believe information from RCS's district communication office is clearly communicated in a timely manner. And we're going for a 3.91 on that. And these, if you note the spreadsheet, we have our baseline when we first started this, our goals for 24-25, and then our scores from last year as well. So Bobby's going to talk about our next steps.
Next slide. Got it. So I'm going to talk about our action steps that we are currently working on for this short cycle. We are working on survey clarification. So as Shane mentioned, we base all of our goals off of our 3 surveys. And we realized last year through some communication with staff that some staff weren't able to review their direct report in the survey that was sent to them. So we are working this year on making sure that the correct survey is going to the correct people. So that way everyone can have the opportunity to review their direct report. We're meeting with teacher, parent, and principals, we met today with the principal group through Dr. Strasser. We're able to communicate some of the things we learned from the parent group that they would like to see for communication. And then we will be also meeting with the teacher group on the 15th to kind of discuss and define what organizational and district information looks like. When we stepped back after last year's kind of overview, we really realized that we needed to go to the root and ask the questions before we could really kind of make better action steps for this pillar, and try to do better for the district overall. We're also going to be reviewing the school perception survey on preferred ways of communication. So the school perception survey was the survey that facilities put out. And one of those questions that went out to the whole community was preferred ways of receiving communication. So we're going to look at that and trying to better understand and also utilize the tools that people are using to receive information about the district. And then we're also going to be doing pulse checks on the surveys that we are gauging our pillar on. So we are kind of defining on when we want to send those out because we don't like to do survey overload, which happens sometimes in our district. So we're working on kind of a timeline and what those pulse checks will look like for the 3 specific groups. And that's our communication pillar action steps.
All right, board, any questions for communication champions? Mrs. Stephens?
No question, just a comment. If I were taking the parent survey, I would rate our district higher this year than I did last year. Like if you gave it to me today, I feel like I've gotten more information. I've gotten more direct emails from teachers, explaining what's going on in their class. I don't have to open PDFs anymore.
Yes, how
Thank
nice.
you so much
Yes.
for that. I mean, really. And no, I just feel like on the whole, as a parent, I'm getting better communication, and
Awesome.
I just want you to know that I noted that, and I
That's
appreciate
great
it.
to hear.
Thank you. Mrs. Clapham?
Hi guys, I actually positive feedback as well. I was at my child's school's PTA meeting and they talked about that, Bobby, you came into the inter-student parent council and they were really pleased with being able to give you feedback. And so it's cool to see that in real time that, you know, they were saying like, yes, they asked us about communication and they said it was very clear to them that that was a priority and a high priority of the district. So it was really good to hear that feedback, and they felt very positive about being included and being asked for feedback. So thank you so much. And they said it's just really cool to see things happening in real time and like, oh, things are working. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
I think it would be interesting, like at the mid-year check or mid-year update, to see what the feedback was and what we're doing as a result of, you know, putting that in place.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are collecting notes with each of the groups we're meeting with. So that would be definitely something we can share with you guys.
Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Hey.
All right, we're going to transition to the community pillar, led by Ms. Schaefer and Ms. Donovan.
Don't have to walk away yet. All right. So for the community pillar, we're just going to share the goals really quick. If you guys can recall, we did a lot of shifting with this pillar, just realizing we weren't quite hitting the mark that we wanted to when we first looked at it. So for engagement with district level communication platforms, we're going to be continuing tracking our social media followers and asking for a 5% increase. So 20,000 overall followers on all of our platforms. And then we would like to get app downloads up to 6,000, which would be about half of our student body population, which would be a 50% increase. Hefty goal, but I think it's doable if we really focus on the communication part of the app. The other part is family caregiver survey. So we look at if parents feel that they are proud to have a kid at their school. We did have a really great increase with that one last year, but we will be shooting for a 4.11. So all of these increases on the surveys are recommended increases by Studer Education, just as a note for everyone. And then for the employee experience survey, we'll be looking to go to a 3.88. So saying that an employee would recommend that parents select this organization to serve their child. We've removed the board member participation portion for moving forward, and that will be removed after this meeting. I just wanted to make sure it was noted that we're going to take that off. And then I'll let Bobby Joe talk about volunteers.
So we've continued to struggle with how to use the metric for volunteers because we are not set up to share out volunteer opportunities necessarily with our community to bring them into the schools, although that's something we've looked at potentially trying to expand on. And so in talking with this, we are going to try a pilot to where we, rather than seeing how many volunteers, we're going to try to log hours of volunteers in our schools. And so we reached out to 3 different elementaries to see if they would be willing to be a pilot for us. And so when a volunteer checks in or a community member checks into the school, the elementary, they would sign in normally. And then this piece, they would also scan a QR code or get a link to a survey, and they would log in and gives just some very basic information. One of them being the first and last name. And this came up in our meeting with Studer as to why we would ask for their name. And my reasoning behind it is merely to see how many parents or volunteers are coming back multiple times to a school in particular, or maybe to multiple schools. They would identify what their role is. So are they a parent? Are they a community member or something different? Specifically what school that they're supporting on the day that they're checking in, and then the best option that fits their time within the building. So are they there for a classroom visit or a classroom party? Are they there to chaperone a learning tour, field trip? Are they just there supporting the teacher or the office? So being specific as to what they're there volunteering to do, and then to get an idea of how many hours that they intend to be there or that they were there, anywhere from up to 30 minutes to 120 minutes or more. So that is the survey. We just are probably hoping to roll this out to those 3 elementary schools probably within the next couple weeks to see. And so by mid check-in, I'm hoping to have some data to be able to share out kind of where we're at with how many hours. So.
No, that's good. All right, and then so for our action steps that we're currently doing during this cycle, we relaunched the Engage platform, which is our newsletter platform. We redid training on the early release, which was recorded, and it will be sent out to everyone in the district that has access to work on newsletters. This is due to some schools haven't quite started getting into the program yet. And again, during that parent, when Shane and I went and talked to the parent group, they did say that they really wanted to see more on the newsletter side. And then we're also going to explore community newsletters. So Engage, we can upload community lists to send. And so we can start including them on those. So I'm just trying to kind of gauge on how I want to get those community emails, whether it's a pop-up on the website or if Dr. Thompson and I talked about a mailer going out about some facts about RCAS and having a QR code on there to have people sign up. So we're just kind of trying to figure out the exact plan for that community newsletter, and hopefully during this next cycle, we'll be able to roll out the community newsletter. And then set quarterly reminders for app downloads, making sure parents know that they can download the app, and community members, which also falls under communication. And then communication for parent groups. So we're going to rely on parent groups for our survey data to have them help promote it within their schools. So again, probably going to the parent group as the community pillar now and asking them to take it back to their parent teacher PTAs and PTOs and everything like that. And then align survey timelines. So we want to make sure those surveys are happening. The district typically follows pretty close, all the schools for engagement nights around the same time. So making sure that the surveys for those parents and caregivers falls in that engagement night time. So that way they can try and set up some laptops, make sure there's availability for people to take it while they're in the building, and or conferences. That's another time that we look at for that as well. And then we'll pilot the hour log for the volunteer portion.
All right, any questions for Mrs. Stephenson?
Yeah, I appreciate looking into how to log volunteer hours better and more accurately, and I appreciate that you're doing a trial. Part of me thinks it's a little cart before the horse. To me, and again, this is just me personally, but I've been registered as a volunteer, and it's rare that I've ever been asked to volunteer. I ask to volunteer at my kids' school, and they ask for they send out notices that they need volunteers, but I'm volunteering now up at Knollwood, and the only reason is because the principal at Knollwood sent out an email saying, hey, you've registered to volunteer at schools. Here's a Google Doc. Tell me what you're interested in. And then she reached out and she set it up. And so now I'm volunteering at Knollwood because someone asked me to. But I think there are a lot of people in the community who would love to go up and read to kids at Knollwood who don't have that opportunity because they don't know who to talk to and they've never been reached out to. So I appreciate logging volunteer hours, but I really hope that we can get someplace where all this big volunteer list of 1,200 volunteers, they're getting a weekly email. Here's where we need our help. We need your help in this district.
We will start looking at that.
So is that a question to see? Because I was gonna make the same comment. And I think we were told the last time that it's up to each building to make requests well, Knollwood, we know that's Principal Gross. So, and I saw it on Facebook, I think it's.
So currently we have a volunteer, what we call, I think her official title is volunteer coordinator. And she works as a volunteer coordinator and as the college and career readiness clerical. But really her role as it is wrote as a job description is to register volunteers into our system, get them the background checks and the proper procedures that way. As far as her role in finding opportunities, we've reached out to principals over the years and said, if you have something, reach out to us and we will share it out. You should have received one here within the last month about junior achievement, and they were looking for volunteers for our schools specifically to go in and deliver some of those lessons. So that went out to all of our volunteers. So yes, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that if we want this type of thing to happen to where we are actively trying to find these opportunities, then we would need to expand that role of the volunteer coordinator, not to be just looking at background checks and so forth. We would have to expand that position because right now she spends a good part of her day making sure that the applications have come in, confirming all the different steps that go through the background pieces. So if, along with the duties of being a clerical and different things that are happening within that department, my department. And so if we're wanting to do that, which I'm not saying is good, bad, or indifferent, we would maybe need to look at expanding that position.
Okay. So if you're gonna be tracking volunteer hours, I think then Christine's point is valid that volunteers have to know that there are hours to volunteer for. So if you're saying that has to be added, then it's not being done.
So yes and no, because what I will say is that there are in a lot of our elementary schools. So this is people coming in to do guest speaking. If they come in to be a guest speaker, they're not registering to be a volunteer. So we are catching all people coming in. The hope is that we would catch all people coming into the building that are there to support or give time for one reason or another. Now to sign up to be a volunteer, that is a little bit different in the realm that anybody can sign up to be a volunteer and we do the background pieces and then they can help with those other things. But unfortunately, we do have people that come in without going through that process. So my hope is that we can catch all of that, anybody coming in that are helping in the different realms. I know it seems a little wishy-washy, but it really, that's how it is in our buildings.
Okay, so then tracking the hours is not gonna do you any good if the people that you need to donate the hours don't know their hours to. I hope I'm trying to be clear.
I think what I'm trying to say though, Bishop Carr, is that I think we do have more people volunteering in our buildings than we realize. And so my hope is that we can gather to see how many hours are being volunteered that maybe we don't even realize. So that principals, maybe it's a principal that is doing other things or teachers are reaching out for help. So it's hard for us to know about every single opportunity that buildings are asking for help with.
Okay, so can you go back one slide? So then you're talking about volunteer hours outside the pool of volunteers.
Anybody that comes into a building.
Number of district volunteers.
So they may be a registered volunteer, or they may be a mom that had an extra hour and is able to step in and support a classroom.
Okay, Ms. Rafferty.
Just kidding.
So at the beginning of the year, a lot of times, this might clarify some things. They'll ask for volunteers from parents. And so then the parents will, give the parents the form to fill out. And then the parents have to go through a background check. Even I went through the process and I wanted to volunteer for a field trip. So I had to go through the process, of, doing the background check and filling out the forms. I think it's still a good thing to track, like you're saying, but there's different, help me out here, there's different levels of volunteering. Like, maybe you can help me out with the steps and the different processes.
So yeah, level one is just they're never alone with students and they're there for maybe it's chaperoning a field trip or a learning tour, or it's helping in the classroom, or they're filing paperwork, helping the clerical file paperwork or something like that. Your level two might be is to that next extent. So where they're within the same room or earshot of a staff member. And then level three are those people that do the full background check like an employee does. And so they're potentially a volunteer coach, et cetera.
Okay, Mr. Sin.
Thank you, President Carr. Yeah, in my nonprofit organization, we also go through the background checks and we do the things that are registered there so that, we're considered volunteers, although we have a job to mentor kids. One of the things is that, our hours get measured both, by our program and also by the school district as well. But there are also times I understand, like I call bingo up at North, and I call bingo over at Horseman, and I just come into the building, and there's no way of tracking, that I'm doing 6 or 7 hours of, for those events. Or if I'm just stopping by the school to say hi, or, just doing those things. I know we took away the board participation stuff, but that's fine, we should be doing in the schools doing this stuff. So that's, I think that's an important piece. I understand where the hours are, it's really hard, especially with, somebody like me, it just stops by, hey, I got a few hours. I might just stop by and see what's going on with the principals. Is there any way I can help? Is there anything I can do? And I think that's what you're looking for. And that's a hard number to ascertain, it is. And God bless you on your steps to try to get that, because that's going to be tough. Even our organization has a tough time with that. So thank you.
Can I just add really quick too? I just want to mention that this is a pilot because we were trying to redo this metric. So this is just to learn. It's only in 3 schools and we're trying to figure out if it's going to work. It's not set in stone that this is going to be forever what we're going to track. This is just something that we're looking if it's a good metric for us to look at as community pillar champions.
Dr. Thompson, can you get the board a report on how the pool of volunteers, I've been a volunteer, so I understand the signing up and all of that. So how are volunteer opportunities communicated to those pool of volunteers? Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else for the community group? All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Wojcik's gonna talk about the staff pillar and the things happening there.
Good evening. So I'm Nikki Wojcik. I'm the Director of Human Resources. It's nice to see you all tonight. The last time we talked about the staffing pillar, it's fair to say that there was a strong interest in changing the metrics. And so tonight I want to introduce to you just what that looks like. So on the next slide, it's changed a lot. So it's condensed quite a bit. So we have 2 main lanes, 2 main tracks. And everything that I talk about tonight is going to funnel into one of these tracks that gives us a really strong heartbeat and pulse of how we're doing as a district in the staffing component. So with the first track, you'll see that it's recruitment. And we're going to be looking pretty strongly at our vacancy rates. How are we doing with filling positions? And we're not necessarily like other organizations where it's okay to have a certain amount of vacancies available. We are very much an organization, a district that needs to have people in positions to meet the needs of our students and our community. And so we're very much going to be working very diligently on filling vacancies, and this is a strong metric that we want to focus on. So moving the metric 1% is a good size lift. It's equivalent to over 15 positions. And so you can see we're currently at about 7%, and we're going to look to move that line to about 6%. And we'll be measuring this every August as our baseline because of the school year and how it's set up. That is a well-defined time for us to revisit and utilize that benchmark as a line of success. The next track is retention. So how are we doing with reducing our turnover rate from year to year, utilizing the time frame as the baseline of July 1st? Well, you can see that just this last year, we're at almost 19% turnover. Now, this is across the district, holistically, with all positions. The prior year, we're at 17.5. So our goal this next year is to strive for a flat 17, if not better. But we're going to work very diligently on reducing the retention rate. This is a little different visual. If we go to the next slide, please. With the two primary areas, recruitment and retention, everything we do in our action plan is going to funnel back to one of these tracks. So if we go to the next slide, please, how do we get there? Now, this is just a sample. This doesn't mean that we have one gap. We have other gaps, but I want to utilize this primary gap as an example so you can see how this is going to expand out. So one of the gaps that we have identified, and I shared this with you during the retreat, and it was very shocking that we have a very high turnover rate within that first year of employment. 42% of our turnover rate occurs within less than 1 year. And so with that, focusing on specific action items that would address that particular gap. Now, these are in number 2, these are some of the things that we are doing and some of the things that we're going to be doing. And so, for example, one of the items is a new employee survey. We need to understand the pulse and the heartbeat of these new employees early on in their employment and throughout their employment and through the life cycle of their employment. So it's not going to be a survey where we're going to survey them to death. It's going to be strategically aligned to make sure that we're getting the information that we need. So we're starting that at the beginning of their employment, the employee satisfaction survey, and then an exit survey, which we already do. We're going to look at enhancing our onboarding and orientation employee experience through making sure that our employees understand the roles and responsibilities. They have the information that they need as a new employee. They are set up for success. They have the training and the resources they need to be a successful employee within our organization. We're doing many action items already. It never really goes away. They're always in progress. And so some of those are job fairs, student teacher programs, teacher apprenticeship program, position postings, the targets for those, continuing to monitor, is it meeting our needs or do we need to readjust? Something that we're doing now, something new, is we've established a recruitment and retention committee and we meet on Thursday, but we've already sent a survey out to all of our hiring managers and we've got some really great feedback and some really good foundational ideas that we can start with. And that's where you can see that we are going to strive to foster new and creative and innovative ideas and strategies as we move through these 2 targeted areas. Next slide, please. One more? That's it? Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and speak to it. The barriers, I guess they just didn't want to show up today. So two of our barriers are small candidate pool. That's not a surprise to any of us, and it's very, very difficult. But how do we rise above? That is a challenge and a barrier to that, to us, that we'll continue to pursue through our recruitment and retention committee and see if we can generate some ideas there. And a one size does not fit all. So our recruitment strategy for teachers is going to be different than bus drivers, et cetera. So I just want you to know the definitely the things that we are looking at and what we're analyzing. So the next slide, I'm sorry that it's not up here, is our next steps, our action items. And so we have retention and recruitment committee meeting, which is scheduled for Thursday, the 8th. But I also wanted to share with you just a list of, what are we doing, right? Do we have an understanding of just some of the action items that are happening? Well, many of you know already that we are attending various job fairs, 25 to 30 a year. When we're at those job fairs, if there's a candidate that we really want to pursue, we're giving them conditional job offer letters. We also have a recruitment flyer that we just generated this year that really promotes our benefit plans and how we have one of the top benefit programs within the tri-state area, really. Our vacant position outreach, how we're partnering with Bobby through marketing and advertising and social media, our student teacher programs, our teacher apprenticeship pathway program, TAP. We just received approval for the student teacher stipend, which Coy, thank you so much. Coy's going to be chipping in to help us kind of increase that a little bit. So really want to support our student teachers. We have sent letters to our teachers and our paraprofessionals who resigned in the last 5 years showing interest and consider coming back to us. Our wages have increased. We have a great, robust benefit package. So we've had some good feedback from those letters. Of course, our principals engage in collaboration and teamwork and as they do work through the interview teams. Several incentives, whether it's meeting high needs facilities and needs and those that are maybe eligible for bonuses. Another focus area, sometimes we just forget about focusing on relationships, right? When we're dealing with potential applicants and being forward facing in that aspect. So making sure that our relationship aspect and how we're communicating with applicants is extremely positive. Communication is focused on clear and precise messaging. A lot of time, for example, when you go to our SharePoint site, it can be very confusing. We're going to be rebuilding that and redesigning it all so that it's very clear and very easy to follow and to get the information that you need. Retention. So those were just the recruitment pieces, a whole list of retention pieces. So we've got the new employee survey, the employee satisfaction survey, the exit survey. We're enhancing the onboarding employee experience or enhancing the the orientation employee experience. We've established the staffing committee. Labor negotiations is big because that's where we negotiate wages and benefits, which is a lot of where the rubber meets the road if employee is looking for a desirable employer. So it's very important that we negotiate fair wages. We have the Professional Labor Management Committee that talks about the pulse and heartbeat and what our employees are thinking and what direction they're leaning towards and how we can make things better as far as their overall work environment. Professional development, we're gonna have a PD day for all of our principals so that they can be better leaders and to navigate all the functions of human resources so that they can be create that learning environment and that leadership environment and help them manage conflict and just various issues within the workplace. And several working committees like the calendar committee that you're leading. All of these things touch these two major tracks that we talked about. And so this is an exhaustive list, and I'm sorry if I put you all to sleep, but there's a lot of work that goes into this because we take it seriously. And so I just wanted to close with thank you for your time. And if you can't tell, I'm very excited about this and I welcome any questions that you might have.
Mrs. Clapham, thank you for the report.
Welcome.
Mrs. Clapham.
Ms. Wojcik, one, I just want to say a huge thank you and that I am, I didn't get to sit in the room you were being hired, but somebody was really wise making that choice. I'm just really impressed with your enthusiasm, with your level of organization. So I'm super excited about that. One thing that I note on recruitment that I just have personally gotten feedback on is mentoring, especially for our administrators. So I just wanted to communicate that. I've been told by several newer administrators, they just felt like they struggled a little bit because they didn't have like a direct mentor. And even if they were coming with administrative assistance, but even just little things in the district, like how to do their time cards and how to, so it's like, I know we have a teacher mentoring, but in kind of a long term, I think that mentoring piece can be really helpful on retention. So people don't feel like they're drowning to start with. And I just wanted to share that before I forgot.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think we're meeting that interest partially meeting that interest by the PD day that I talked about, where we can help with certain leave issues, timesheets, just the whole administrative piece as it ties into human resources. And I know Dr. Strasser's even has a more robust mentoring plan that he has developed as well. So there's always room to grow. Thank you for that.
Ms. Stephenson.
So just to clarify, the PD day for principals is new
It's going to be new this next August.
and it's HR specific. Like,
Yes.
here's the procedure for days off and here's the procedure for when a pet dies.
Yes.
Thing. Okay.
I hope we don't get to that level, but I just want to get the idea.
Well, it might come up.
It probably
I'm told it has come up.
Most likely.
That's wonderful. I'm excited to hear that. I mean, I'm sure our principals would like PD on developing their skills as leaders, but this is just super key. So I appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to thank you, these goals, they're so straightforward. They're so easy to understand and really reflective of success. I think it would be tempting to try and write a goal that says, I'll go to 40 career fairs, but you wrote goals like, this is what we need in the district and this is what I'm shooting for. I'm very appreciative of that. And then I wanted to ask about the retention committee, because I can imagine after talking to teachers and a lot of staff over the years, that you're gonna hear things in staff surveys that you in HR can't directly change. So who is on the retention committee is my question.
So we have 5 teachers and then we have 2 hiring managers. And so, do you want the names?
No, I wanted positions because I can feel,
Okay.
I hear a lot about, well, the PD isn't relevant or and so we might hear things that like you can hear at a retention survey, but if you don't, or a retention committee, but if you don't have the power to change any of that specific things that might come up.
Right. And I misspoke. They're not teachers, they're principals. I'm sorry, 5 principals, and then we have 2 other hiring managers. But yeah, that's what's going to come up. I mean, there's capacity issues, there's technology issues, there's just, but sometimes if you can just kind of talk through it and then they can understand it, okay, but now let's think of something else potentially, or how can we get there with a little different mindset? So there's some things we haven't thought about. That's where we need to collaborate for sure.
Well, thank you for taking it on.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, Ms. Rafferty.
Oh, excuse me.
First of all, I want to say job well done.
Thank you.
I think your goals are excellent. So I also believe that PD days need to be meaningful for the staff. They're showing up, they really want to be in their classrooms. The staff wants to be working with kids or just getting things ready. So I think it's really important that we do look at our professional days and make them meaningful to the staff. I've got a couple of questions for you. You said that the turnover rate was 42% in less than a year. Is that with teachers or was that with bus drivers?
That's with all positions.
Okay. So my second question then is like with the teacher turnover, is that teachers retiring or is it teachers that are teaching 1 to 3 years and they decide, I can't do this?
So for teachers, it's for all reasons.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Angela, I think the 42% in 1 year, 42% of turnover is people within their first year of employment.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that
That's
statistic
correct.
was? It wasn't that the whole staff turnover is 42%.
Right. That's correct. Thank you for that clarification. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you.
the report. Yes, yes, Mrs.
Stephenson.
What's your name? Christine.
You got it. I just wanted to let the board and administration know that I will be leaving a few minutes early to go to a choir concert or an orchestra concert for my daughter. So I apologize for missing anything important, but I'm sure y'all will fill me in.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. I'm the lead pillar champion on the facilities pillar champion, so I'm going to present that information. I'm going to go fairly quickly. We get a lot of opportunities to talk about facilities, which is great. But just a reminder, our two success measures around the facility pillar were first, the development and implementation of the Facility Performance Index, or you're going to see it abbreviated as FPI. And that was really the tool that we developed to define and then measure criteria and metrics around what constitutes a safe, modern, and effective learning environment. Our baseline measurement, after we developed that tool and measured all of our schools against that, was a 53. Our 2024-2025 goal was to move that 1.5 points to 54.5. Our actual results in 24-25 were we moved 5.5 points to a score of 60. So really great success in that initial measurement time period. I should asterisk that just a bit and say that I think at this point in time, we do have a lot of low hanging fruit. And so one of the reasons that we saw a big jump and that we'll probably continue to see some larger jumps in those first few years is that we're hitting a lot of projects that really directly impact criteria that is weighted heavily on the Facility Performance Index. So we're going to get to a point where that progress is going to start to become more difficult as we continue to address our facilities. But again, great success in that first year, great movement. Our 25-26 goal again was to move a percentage, or excuse me, 1.5 to 61.5. The other success measure was the impact project plan. Again, this was really a combination of taking the projects laid out in the master plan and taking the high priority projects that were going to be funded from capital outlay and moving those all into one succinct plan that we called the impact project plan. So again, our baseline was the development of that plan. 25 was the execution of impact projects for the year. If you recall, what we talked about was taking a very different approach to how we were selecting and executing projects around that area. And so we talked about really reducing the quantity of projects as opposed to trying to spread that capital outlay resource around for the year and touch every single building every single year, to really focus focus those resources on projects that were really high impact to the Facility Performance Index and really high impact to the operational aspect of the organization. You're going to see how that's turned out and where that trend goes here on the next slide. And of course, then 25-26 goals are to continue to address those projects and tick them off the list as we go. Okay, so as we look at short cycle action steps around the facilities pillar, of course, first and foremost is to execute the FY26 or the current fiscal year capital outlay projects. We're well into design on all those projects. Again, the idea of reducing the number of projects and trying to be more focused around high impact projects has really helped to make the capital outlay process more efficient and ultimately to be able to execute more projects in that given fiscal year than we had in the past. We're also working on a project dashboard tool that we can make available to the board and eventually to the public that shows progress on all of those projects live time as we're going through them, which I think will really help folks understand where we're at. The next short action step would be to then move into the selection of FY 27 projects that align with the Facility Performance Index. And again, the key here is focusing on projects that have a significant impact on that performance index and a high return on investment through the capital outlay budgeting cycle. So the place where this district and all districts are always going to see the most improvement in their facilities is going to be in terms of how much capital outlay resources they can contribute to the facilities on a yearly basis, year over year over year. So in fiscal year 25, we had 81 capital outlay projects for about $7.7 million. To year to date, we've finalized about 90% of those projects. Of course, we're always going to have a percentage of projects that are running over into the next fiscal year due to a variety of issues. But again, our focus is really trying to take the projects identified in that year, reduce the quantity, and ensure that we're hitting high return on investment projects and that we're completing them as quickly as possible. And again, you see this trend continue. So fiscal year 26, current fiscal year projects, that number goes all the way down to 27 projects at about $8 million. And so these are really, really focused projects aiming at increasing the performance of our facilities. The other really nice thing that this all does in terms of trying to make that process more efficient is it gives us the ability to enter the design cycle faster and ultimately finish more projects during a fiscal year. So one of the difficult aspects of capital outlay management on a year over year over year basis is we have a very limited window typically of time, mainly July, August, and that's it, to hit those large scale capital outlay projects. And so we have to be very organized about how we do that. And this process has given us the ability to enter the design cycle faster in the upcoming year and ultimately get to a point where we're finishing more projects. We also want to continue to refine that Facility Performance Index criteria to reflect changing priorities in the district. And so obviously one of the in my opinion, the positive aspects of this strategic planning process has been that these are all living plans. They're living documents that we continue to adjust in a real-time basis. And so we have to keep an eye on as priorities are changing out in our buildings and our facilities that we're doing a good job of refining that criteria. And a good example is outdoor alarm systems. So we had a situation come up last year, really highlighted the need to have some type of outdoor alarm system. So again, as we look at the criteria around what's a safe school, that has now been added to the criteria, and we'll start to address a lot of those projects as well. And then lastly, of course, determine financing plan for the impact project plan. So we're all well aware that plan takes a significant amount of resources when we look at what's happening with the master plan priorities and combined with the impact project plan. And so part of the process is then working through and determining how we're going to align resources to those priorities, what that's going to look like over time, both if the district is successful in approving a bond referendum and if it isn't successful in that endeavor. So we'll continue to work on that plan and try to align resources. So that's where we're currently at under facilities pillar, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for that report. Any questions for Mr. Sassy? All right, seeing none, I'm not keeping track of students. Okay.
All right, our last pillar tonight is our student pillar, and starting with just a broad overview, you could see how we put together our metrics, our baseline, our 24-25 results, and then our 25-26 goals here on this piece. We're going to break it down one by one. So I'm going to go right to Director Roberts and our academic work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This year, looking at our kindergarten and first grade, they take a Cadence test. That assessment is what we use. And that is a benchmark assessment. And this fall, we've got our numbers here where our students came in when we did our assessments this fall. And we anticipate our goal is 10% growth, both in ELA and math for that kindergarten through first grade. Just kind of piggybacking on what we talked about earlier with junior kindergarten, these are some of the highest scores that we have seen at the beginning of the year for kindergarten in quite some time. And we do believe that a part of that is because of the students who were in junior kindergarten and came in ready for kindergarten, that really helped move those numbers. Our map, the NWEA map, which is for grades 2 through 8, we look at growth and proficiency. Previously, we were only noting growth there, but it is possible for our students to make growth, but not really improve on proficiency. And so for that reason, we are including both of those this year. Because, you know, we don't want to discount growth while students maybe aren't improving in proficiency, but they are growing. And so that we thought that it was important for both of those. So we won't know our growth until mid-year because we've taken our first assessment at the beginning of the year. In the middle of the year, when we do these right before Christmas, we'll see how they're growing. But we do have our beginning of the year proficiency scores, and our goal is to improve in math and ELA, both of those by 2%. For the pre-ACT, which is taken by all 9th and 10th graders, we are staying the same on that goal as we are on the 11th graders taking the ACT. And that is because we are switching this year. Previously, our 11th graders took the South Dakota assessment or the achievement test as well. And that really is part of our state report card. And so we didn't have as big of a push for all students to take the ACT. We gave it to all students, but if we had some that didn't take it, we weren't as concerned. But the state does hold us to a very high standard in all of our students taking it. And in other states that went to this where the state switched to all students taking the ACT, most of them saw a drop in their average. So for that reason, we would feel really good about holding where we were at last year before the switch. And so that's the reason why our goal is to hold steady with where we tested last year. Any questions about our academics?
I see none. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm here to present our scorecard for attendance. And if you take a look at it, it's very simple, 2 numbers. They're either present or they're not. However, I'll be getting into the action steps where we're taking a look at different types of data. Our baseline was 81%, and we're looking for our annual goal this school year to increase by 2%. Our program alignment is really our attendance committees at the district level and also at the building level. They are the ones who are taking a look at different types of data, which is chronic data, truancy data, tardy data. Where is the factor within our baseline that we can really increase? Another program alignment is taking a look at our attendance within Skyward. What is the procedure? What is the process? And how we're going to get to those action steps with increasing that 2% is taking a look at our policy here and comparing it to the state law in districts that are surrounding us. And what type of policy do we need here that is grassroots, going through the district level attendance committee, taken back to the building attendance committee to where we have all voices and have a systematic revision to our policy that meets the needs of Rapid City area schools. 2, clarifying definitions. What is excused, unexcused, tardies, partial day, chronic, truancy, the list goes on. Really reviewing and aligning our attendance codes, evaluate how we notify our parents and our guardians. One thing that we really did through our September attendance awareness campaign was getting postcards of "We miss you" versus those really punitive notifications in the mail of truancy. The next step is reviewing our process for policy and communication procedures, such as just what I said, our letters, our calls, our text, emails, and being more welcoming and how can we help you versus we're going to file with state's attorney. Thank you.
Any questions? All right. Hold on. Mrs. Clapham, thank you.
This might be a little getting into the weeds, so Director Veit, I apologize if it is. But do we know, like, consistently as far as the partial day, and if that's something like that most districts use, like, is that a state standard of what's considered a partial day versus a full day? Because that's always been a little bit confusing to me as a parent.
Sure. That is something that is set by the district. For example, what we have here at Rapid City Area Schools is 90 minutes tardy is considered a half day absent, and a 90-minute early checkout is a half day PM absent. In other districts, they do something a little different. However, this is exactly what our district attendance committee is going to be exploring. What are other people doing? However, what are our students need, and taking a look at it and to be able to revise it on meeting the needs here locally, but then having the knowledge of what do other schools do. One of our schools really figured out that all of their tier 3, all of their chronic is 90 minutes tardy. They're not absent, but yet we're counting them absent. So it's like, okay, taking a look at that policy, we're kind of hurting ourselves in creating our own chronic absenteeism rate. So our process on number 1 for our action step is our district attendance committee is going to take a look at 10 different policies, and we're going to do an activity of what meets the needs within their building. Then that group will really get it fine-tuned out to one. They'll take it in November to their building attendance committee, to where everybody at the building can have a weigh-in on what is that possible within their building, and what barriers could happen. We'll bring it back to the attendance committee in December. In January, we'll be taking that revision to the policy committee, and then in February to the board, with not implementing until July 1 of 26, because we're midway through. That will really impact our state report card data and our local data here as well. But if we take it through that process, which is vetted with Attendance Works and is research-based, that is where we're taking it and having input from everybody within the school.
I really appreciate that. And I think looking at, because I think sometimes as a parent, or I could see well, if they're going to be a half day, whether it's 90 minutes or 3 hours, like, I think there could be a mentality of like, well, I'm either not going to bring them back to school if it's a midday appointment or something like that. So I think clarifying that, and then like helping our families understand what, that no, it's worth it, 90 minutes, it's worth still bringing them to school and that kind of thing. So I appreciate the hard work and the diligent research you guys are doing.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Good evening, board. Dr. Comer and I are going to present our behavior initiatives for our student pillar. The first thing I would like to address is our goals for this upcoming year. When we had originally developed our baseline goal for 23 and 24, it looked a little bit different than this. However, we also know that with the recent training of more accurate and more consistent major behavior referrals, those numbers increased quite a bit. So from our baseline from 23 to 24, our numbers increased by 2,253, where we wanted them to actually go down. But we know that with that consistency of reporting that there was that fluctuation. So we redrew our baseline data and we're utilizing this last year's numbers of 13,564 major behavior referrals as our new baseline. So moving forward, since we now have a much more consistent and accurate record keeping of behavior referrals, major behavior referrals, we're going to look at a rather aggressive approach, an aggressive goal of reducing those numbers by 5% to below 13,000 to 12,885. We'd like to be more aggressive. We're going to shoot for 10. That's our department goal. However, we know that we're looking at a 5% reduction. And so with that 5% reduction, over the course of this next year, we have a couple initiatives and action steps that we'd like to put in place. So first of all, we have our behavior reset program, which of course is going to take place at Kibben Custer. We brought that to you this last spring. Thank you for approving that. We will establish that at our Kibben Custer building. Dr. Comer has set up our Boys Town training the last week of October for those teachers and staff members that will be providing those services at Kibben Custer. And we're going to, right now, we're looking at rather a holistic approach to our behavioral a student referral program or student referral process for those students to go to Kibben Custer to be part of that reset program so that we know after a period of time that those students can be reintroduced back into their home school, maybe not necessarily their home classroom, but maybe absolutely their home school, knowing according to research, that's the best place for them. We're also looking very aggressively at our tiered approach. We know that even with our academic tiered approach, that your tier 2 and tier 3 academic intervention is moot unless you have a strong tier 1. And so we're really looking at our tier 1 behavior modification and behavior supports in all of our 22 buildings, knowing that if our teachers are set up with a strong tier 1 support for addressing their behaviors in the classroom, we'll reduce the tier 2 and tier 3 needs across the system. Also looking at the continued behavior construct for the academy in the middle school and high school, supporting that construct and continuing to gather programmatic effectiveness so that we can make those modifications and tweaks for that program to set the middle school and high school up for success. Dr. Comer is going to visit with you about the children's home and the Children's Society and our partnership with them.
So right now we have 19 students who are at the Children's Home Program at Lincoln from K through 3. We have updated the referral process. The old referral process last year was went straight to Children's Home, and we wanted to be more of a part of that. So with a lot of help from IT, Dr. Strasser, myself, we really put together a nice process where principals can go in and refer their students. That way we can get more background information on them and have a better idea of which students are being referred so that we can have a better idea of which ones should be going and have a stronger input into that process. So that's just something that we're just starting, and we've seen success with it on the few trials that we've had.
Any questions for us?
Yes, so when you say that there's behavior support, have we hired behavior strategists to go into the schools to help with some of the behaviors or give the teachers some suggestions on what they can do to help these students?
Great question. So this year we have a behavior coaching team. They are currently setting up meetings with every principal in the district to talk about the needs of their specific building, the new staff members they have that might need extra support, some staff members where they see some of their highest flyers, and then they are going to go in and create a very strategic, very purposeful plan for each building for meeting the needs of those individual teachers at each individual building, really helping those staff members maintain that strong structure. So our coaches do not coach students, they coach the teachers. So the teachers then are more successful in their classrooms and building their confidence and their capacity to be a stronger leader in their buildings and their classrooms. And then also working alongside the principals to help the principals build their capacity as instructional leaders as well. So the principals then can take over that coaching and support their teachers.
Thank you.
Mr. Swan.
Dr. Strong, you referred to the behavior teams, I guess. How many people are on the behavior teams?
Currently, we have four on the behavior team. We also have the two from our Title VI office that will support the behavior team, and Roxanne Engel, our prevention specialist, supports the behavior team. Two of those team members will be in the classroom supporting the behavior reset program, really setting that up for success for who our Miss Hogan Camp hires moving forward, hopefully this next year. So really laying the foundation, the strong foundation for that. So we're real busy in the district doing what's best for kids.
Thank you.
Ms. Urban?
Dr. Comer, is there now that it seems like there's different criteria, what is the criteria, I guess, for kids that go into the children's home program?
Well, they can be general ed or special ed students. Really the criteria is looking at, especially with the children's home, they have that component for helping students with trauma and working with those families. So there's a family component for counseling and things like that. Sometimes the referrals that we get coming through aren't appropriate for there because they're more maybe the TEACH program that I'm hoping to get a teacher for eventually. So they're more those significant students with autism. Well, that's not what that program is designed for. Or maybe a student who, if the family isn't really saying, hey, we want that family component, because there is that buy-in that they need to do that. So there's a lot of components that go into play with who should and should not be attending there.
Ms. Rafferty?
Are they still using conscious discipline in the classrooms?
At the elementary level, yes, ma'am, they are.
Okay.
And because we, as a whole, I developed a committee of principals across the district and brought them in to get their thoughts on the conscious discipline. And it was pretty unanimous that the principals believe that the conscious discipline for the tier 1 especially is the right program to use. It just needs to be utilized well and efficiently and effectively. So the committee that I brought together, they agreed on 3 primary points that we are going to implement well and implement with fidelity at the elementary with conscious discipline across the district, so everyone has the same expectation for how better looks. We also brought a committee together to do the same at the middle school and high school with responsibility-centered discipline and implementation. It's that go slow to go fast component. So we're doing everything very purposefully, specifically, right, and well. My dad is a Marine, and he always used to say, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And so we're really pausing to do it right and to do it well, to set that strong tier 1 up so that we can really support the tier 2, tier 3, and the reset program. So the reset program, just a very quick overview, after the Boys Town training at the end of October, Ms. Hogan Camp then will lead the team to talk about implementation, and we're looking at taking students in November. So we're excited about the process.
Are we still using PBIS too?
There are several schools that still utilize PBIS along with and in conjunction with conscious discipline and responsibility-centered discipline. Research shows that PBIS is more effective with some student populations and less effective with some student populations. So we're trying really hard not to beat that dead horse. If it's not effective, don't do it anymore. But the schools that are seeing high success with PBIS, we're encouraging and supporting that construct in those buildings, especially with the success and the numbers that they're seeing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, ladies.
All right, I'm going to bring it home. This is the last one, and really thank you, board, for listening to each pillar walk through where they've developed their action steps and goals for the year, and just really proud of the team and how they've gotten to this point. So on the student survey piece, kind of the last part of that student pillar, I was really looking at the foundational aspects of how do we impact student culture. And to me, it comes back to starting with the feedback cycle that needs to happen, not just from the district to principals, but principals into their buildings. And I think we've got started a good foundation, and we really want to expand on that. So things that we talk about, and you've heard me talk about, would be things like creating stoplight reports. So listening to our staff, and then taking that feedback and putting it right into actionable steps. And so I've done that. I know our principals have done that in various ways last year, and we're going to get better at that process this year. We want to utilize the K-12 rounding app. That it's a tool that we can be much more coordinated across the district. So I use it, principals use it, our district leaders use it, and it allows us to get that feedback. So for example, just a general rounding, we're at about 700 individual rounding connections with our staff so far this year. So we take that, we take the time to meet, we take the time to listen, and then now we can act on that and be responsive through our stoplight report and process. So that's what a lot of this here is about rounding. Of course, I do a lot of engaging with principals primarily, and setting some expectations for them to move the rounding process into their buildings on a very formal in a very formal way. That's what the feedback cycle is. The last thing at the bottom there talks about our LDI training. That's Leadership Development Institute. We do those 5 times a year with Studer Education, and we've focused on advancing customer service skills in our leaders, and then skills that they can take back and ideas that they can take back to their buildings. Not only did we do that with principals, but now we've done that with assistant principals. So really trying to get our language and the things that we know are effective, get those things hardwired into our system so that we can be the best leaders that we can across the district. So I believe that those are the foundational things that can really set us up for then having better communication and creating better cultures with our students and in our schools, and hopefully impact the numbers. You can see there, without we make great progress last year, our annual goal is to go 2% over what we did last year, and that would take us to the 44% on question 16 and the 56% on question 17. So that's what we have. I'll be happy to answer any questions. But again, overall, thank you for listening to the work that we're doing and how we're moving as leaders in the district.
All right, board, any questions, wrap-up questions for Dr. Strasser? Okay, seeing none, Dr. Thompson, is that all fell under your report? Is that?
Yes, that was my report. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to address them, but that was a lengthy one.
Okay, board, any questions for the superintendent report? All right, at this time, you've been at it an hour and a half. Why don't we take a short 3-minute break and give us time to transition before we get to Mr. Sasse's report. Then student,
I was just gonna say that.
yeah, student reps, the way we do it, or I think we just kind of realized it last year, but we understand that you all have had a full day of school and still have stuff at night. So you all are free after you give your report. You can stay as long as you want, or if you have other engagements, feel free to leave at any time. So if you need to leave and we see you getting up, we'll understand that you have other obligations. So don't feel like you are stuck here. You're free to go right after your report. All right, 3-minute break and we'll be back. All right, we'll see. We're all here? Okay. Thank you all for the quick break, and at this time, we'll have business manager report from Mr. Sess.
Thank you, President Carr. Very short report for me tonight. I was going to talk a little bit about Q1 budget performance. We're still waiting for some of the September expenses to roll in, so I'm going to delay that until next time. Wanted to provide a quick update to the board on our busing situation after Q1. Of course, made a significant amount of changes to the busing function coming into the year. The goal as we worked through discussing some of those solutions was to reduce and or eliminate cancellations to the best of our ability. I'd say up to this point, we've been very successful. We did have one route canceled for a morning. We didn't have to cancel the afternoon portion, but I had an unusually high number of drivers that were out that day and canceled one morning route. But that's really been it up to this point. I think it's important to look at the situation from a personnel standpoint. So as of today, the district has 47 drivers. 25 of those are general education drivers driving gen ed routes, and 22 are sped drivers driving special education routes. Last year at the same approximate time frame, the district had 49 drivers, 31 of which were general ed and 18 of which were sped. So overall, we still are seeing a decline year over year in terms of the total number of drivers. But of course, keep in mind that we combined or reduced 9 routes leading into the year, which then gave us the ability to cover all of those routes. And then typically on most days have at least one driver in reserve in case of over amount of call-ins. We currently have 7 open driver positions between general ed, special ed, and then some unassigned positions that we try to hire. So to hear Ms. Swochik talk about the idea of really focusing on hiring drivers is like music to everyone's ears, because that's really necessary and I think very challenging at the same time, because where you would look for different classifications of staff members looks very differently in our district. And so it's a really unique position and I think has the need to approach it with a really unique recruiting strategy. So we also have a mechanic position open and 4 bus monitor positions. We do have 3 people in the pipeline, drivers that we've hired that are in the pipeline, not fully CDL licensed, but are in various stages and working through that now. And so hopefully by the later November, early December timeframe, all of those folks will be on board. And we will have reduced some of the people going out the other end and will be in a net gain position. So that is looking promising. Again, we've been successful up to this point. I think with our strategy, we've held strong. However, on most days, we're still running dangerously close to cancellations between drivers calling in and again, those unfilled positions. If we have a day like today where we had a higher number of call-ins for various reasons, we get dangerously close to cancellation. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation, continue to hopefully be effective in recruiting, and as we cross the mid-year point, again, reevaluate and bring any necessary next steps back to the board for consideration. I also want to mention very, very quickly before I end my report, the DDL team got an opportunity today to go out in several of the buildings and serve lunches. I got the opportunity to serve with the awesome staff at Valley View. Really amazing ladies. It was really great experience. I only made one child cry, and that was my child, so it's fine. It's no problem. We also had a first for that kitchen staff where we worked through a fire alarm literally in the middle of serving time, and so it was just an incredible example of how logistically coordinated those folks have to be, able to make accommodations right in the middle of something like that. They all did a great job. There was zero panic. I was way more panicked than any of them were. very concerned about how we were going to finish, and they just did a great job of handling that. So great experience. Again, a great example of how the logistical coordination that goes into those functions that are often taken for granted just because they're there every day and they're doing their thing is really amazing. So thanks to the ladies at Valley View for being so welcoming and patient, teaching me how to scoop macaroni and cheese. And thanks to all the student nutrition staff across the district for the excellent work you do every day.
Right,
That's it.
thank you. Any questions, board member, for Mr. Sassy in his report? Mrs. Clapham?
Not necessarily a question, more comment. One, I appreciate the update on the busing, and I think just what a great job with using what we learned from the logistical study, because if we hadn't eliminated those 9 routes, like we would be canceling routes left and right. So I'm very pleased with that outcome. And also to say, I think in many organizations, I think sometimes what we hear is the people in the ivory tower don't know what's going on. So it's very meaningful to me, and I know to our staff, to see DDL going out to serve lunches and see what happens every day. And I think just as a team, as a board and as administration, I think we've really made a shift in that. And I appreciate the unity of all of us doing that. And I just appreciate you going and putting your boots on the ground and seeing what's going on. So thank you so much.
All right, anybody else for Mr. Sassy? All right, thank you, Mr. Sassy, for that report. All right, there are no conflicts of interest. I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed agreements.
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agreements. Any discussion? Oh, Mr. Swan.
Yes, sir. I'd like to pull 11 Bravo, if I could, please.
Okay, so.
Discussion.
All right, so we don't have to, we're taking them as a group, so if you want to discuss Bravo, we can go ahead with that. Yes, sir, you can.
Okay, I would just like to acknowledge that the executive director for Hawaii, Luta Okola Kichie, is here tonight with Caitlin Shoulder, who is here and about his agreement, I guess, I would like to just acknowledge him, and maybe he's been sitting here all this time, and if do you have anything to say, Gene Tyon is the executive director. He's been sitting here all night. Are you okay? Or okay, I was just making sure, just acknowledging him and Caitlin. So thank you for coming, Gene, Caitlin.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, roll call vote, please.
Troy Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Katie Urban,
Yes.
Walt Swan,
Yes.
Angela Rafferty,
Yes.
All right, any opposed, please say no. Okay? Motion carries. Item 12, any item of the consent agenda a board member would like to pull? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Bishop Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Katie Urban,
Yes.
Walt Swan,
Yes.
Angela Rafferty.
Yes.
5-0.
Okay, motion carries. All right, item 13, items for board information, committee reports.
I have one.
Okay, Mr. Swan?
Thank you, President Carr. Tonight is the report on the Title VI PAC Committee. I would like to acknowledge that they did have their annual elections. So they have a new president, a new vice president, and a secretary. It looks like they've changed some positions. The new president is Amy Sazu. The vice president is Keith Ferguson. The secretary is Tyresha Grayhorse. They also have new student representatives for this year, which is Grayson Hollowhorn from the Rapid City Alternative Academy. For Central High School is Persea Parker. From Stevens High School is Arvella Keegan from, will be representing the PAC board this year. Also the senior honoring, I just wanted to let you know that they're planning for this event. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger every year. So they're planning for this event. They do have some big plans. I do believe that they discussed there, so I will leave it there. And there was also a presentation by Sarah White from the South Dakota Education Equity Coalition. So those were the goings on for the Title VI PAC meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Swan? All right, Ms. Urban.
Just a quick facilities report. We had heard a number of complaints about the Valley View traffic. Earlier this year, traffic engineers visited the site and said that this is not a school district problem, that the city recommended that we don't do anything, or that the engineers recommended that we talk with the city, because ultimately anything that we do really isn't going to solve the problem, because it has more to do with city streets and roads. So, but that was good information for us to have. And so the next conversation will be with the city. Rapid Valley construction is getting closer. They met with Skull this past week, and we're still on schedule, hopefully to break ground in the spring. The substantial completion and 2 pay-ups will be on the October 21st school board agenda for Central's library. They just got a little behind, but we will see those on the next agenda. And the library will be fully ready, I believe, by November. And then the RFP over at Grandview, they're starting to coordinate with engineers to plan for their HVAC upgrades. Stevens High School, they're meeting with co-op this week, if they haven't already, to talk through more of their upgrades that are coming, which includes a new orchestra room. And then we talked a lot about bond language for the referendum that we have talked quite a bit about, and we're going to hear more about that in the coming weeks. And then we also learned more about a possible campaign with a company that would help us sort of get our story out. So we will have more conversations on that as well. And that's just the high level overview.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from the survey? All right, Ms. Clapham.
Almost forgot to unmute. So reporting for community outreach. So Christine specifically is working diligently on coordinating service projects that directly affect students and families that are part of the district. We plan to have 2 or 3 events that we'd like to focus on being activities we'd participate in as a board. It's likely that those events would be the hat, glove, and shoe and mitten drive that we did last year in December, and then the strings and concert event in late February, and we'll get more details to that. Outside of that, we'd like to continue sharing opportunities that are available to all the boards, so that anytime a board member might be able to participate, everyone's aware. These opportunities to directly interact with our community, and particularly as we become involved in the bond campaign, we'll present opportunities to connect with the community and share information about the bond. Also, if any board members, anybody outside the outreach committee gets an invitation or knows of an event that we can help with, please share that out so that we as a board can help in as many places as we can. Our other main focus in our meeting was discussing what we feel like our role and focus for this year will be. In the past couple of years, we've really focused on listening sessions and feedback. And while those have been successful, we know that the big focus is going to be the bond campaign and advertising, educating, and getting the word out. And so the outreach committee will really serve a lot as a conduit or intermediary between the Say Yes campaign, which I want to go on record and be very clear is its own separate entity and not part of the district, and then communicating between them and the rest of the board and administration. And We'll also be working on getting lists of community groups that would like presentations from administration of the board about the district. And we want to continue with our student listening sessions at all of our high schools this year. And you guys probably know the last date was a little bit short notice, and so it's a little more challenging, but we'll try to get that scheduled farther in advance, and so that you can participate in those and we can continue to hear directly from our students. So that is where we are with community outreach. And if I miss anything, Katie, let me know.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mrs. Clapham? All right, Ms. Rafferty.
So we met last week for a calendar committee. The calendar committee was made up of parents, teachers, school board members too, and administrators. So we just looked at some of it's very difficult to put together a calendar, but we're positive that we will try to meet everyone's needs. Dr. Thompson put together like a comparison chart of student days, and she might want to share this later, but found out that we had 168 student contact days, where the other school districts in the state of South Dakota had like 170, 173 student days. So that's something that we need to look at, maybe possibly adding 2 days. So we also looked at 4 different calendars, and we just had some really rich discussions, things that we need to look at when we're looking at a calendar. And we also need to refer to the guideline sheet. A lot of us have received emails at the beginning of the school year due to heat, because there's not air conditioning in the classrooms. I received an email from the general manager of Harley-Davidson and one from the Central States Fair. And they just kind of really asked if we could just look at the calendar, because tourism is such a big, it brings a lot of tax dollars to our community. And Harley-Davidson employs during the rally close to 600 of our people in our community. And they hire teachers, they hire students, same with hospitality, hotels, restaurants, retail. So it impacts everybody. And I know some teachers shared that they do make a lot of money during the rally, working the rally. And then we also have to look at like the high schoolers, they like to end their semester before Christmas break. Just to balance out how many days there are per semester. I think we're looking at 80 per semester.
If it is completely even, it would be 85.
So we're just looking at everything. So we'll have a meeting again. I believe it'll probably be in October, just to continue to have these discussions so that we can come up with a really good calendar for next year that will work for everyone.
Any questions for Ms. Rafferty? All right, and I attended 2 committees, policy committee, and obviously the work of the policy committee is seen on our agenda, a list of policies that we went over and are presenting to the board for approval. We continue to do that work under the leadership of Attorney Parker. One of the things that Attorney Parker has done different this year in policy committee is that she's invited the authors of each policy to come to the policy committee and explain and go over their policy, which is just a wonderful idea versus just board members, administration, and herself just trying to figure out what the meaning of the policy is and why this and why that. So it gives us direct access. It's a streamlined process. Policy authors only have to stay for their policy. They don't have to stay for the whole meeting. And so that's been an effective effective change. Also was a part of parent council. Each schools gave their report, each parent representation from the schools gave their report. There were good reports from all of the schools. One of the things that came up is that parents or the district or people in the district did not know about that committee. And so I guess I don't quite know how to resolve that. I think most of the people, the new people, were recruited by their principal. And so they were, the principal asked them, will you represent our school on the parent committee? And that's how they found out. So Dr. Thompson, I don't know if we need to actively do anything to better communicate this committee. Yeah, I don't.
I think it would be a change in procedure if we did, whereas right now principals are choosing who comes and represents.
Yeah.
If we were to take another avenue, we could do elections or some other method. So it depends on whether we want to make a change to how we set that committee.
Do we know if every principal is actively asking for participants for that committee, or?
We have someone from every school.
Okay. Oh, okay, they just weren't obviously present.
Correct, there were a few who
that-
couldn't make
that
it.
day. Okay, all right, that's fine. And then the other thing, the communication pillar team, they did a presentation and asked questions, and that was brought up by Ms. Clapham, that noticed that those parents are responding positively to being asked about how they would like to be communicated with, and that went fine. One of the interesting things, and the last thing that I will say, they mentioned, part of the communication, they mentioned about rumors. So they said that what happens is that when there's an incident at school, a student or parent or somebody outside the district's chain of command will find out about what happened, and then they will start talking amongst themselves. The parents will start talking amongst themselves, and then that's how rumors get out. And before the district is able to assess the situation, involve those that need to be involved in the situation, and then come out with communication, the public through social media is already, bullet train down the track, and the district is not ready. So one of the things that I said to them is what I've said during our board meetings, is that unless you hear it from an official, unless you hear it from Dr. Thompson and administration, then it's not official, and it's the rumor mill. So they amongst themselves have to communicate, okay, where did you hear this information from? And if it didn't come from Dr. Thompson's office, then it's not anything official. So hopefully that will get better. And I think that's what happens when parents get upset about not knowing something. They've heard something on the street and the district is not ready to officially report on it yet. We may have been asked by the police or security or Mr. Sergeant's office not to say anything or wait until we get the facts. And so sometimes, again, the Rapid City rumor mill gets ahead of official statements by the board. So hopefully that will change. All right, any other committee reports? All right, seeing none, we are on to other. Any other? Okay, Dr. Thompson.
I'm sorry, I'll be brief. I just wanted to let the board know that RCAS will be participating in the Indigenous Peoples Parade this Saturday at 10 o'clock. We will have a float with part of our Wachipi royalty, as well as a bus and many walkers, including admin, teachers, students. So you're welcome to join us. If you want information, just send me an email.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Board pictures are on the 21st. We're being asked to be here at 5 p.m. so that we can take pictures. Another interesting item came up, and that is November's board meeting. The board approved a resolution in our annual meeting that if there's a Tuesday election, we would move our Tuesday board meeting to the Monday so that people can vote. It's been, I've been informed that there aren't any, that we're not voting on November, the first Tuesday in November. Can everybody, the board members agree or verify that there's no, okay. So there was a question about changing the meeting back to Tuesday. And we've done our research and read the resolution, and it does say that if there is voting on the Tuesday, we would change the meeting to Monday. Well, there's no voting on the Tuesday, so then there's technically no reason to change it to the Monday. Now, my understanding of what to do next stops. So I don't know if we need to vote to change it to Tuesday. Does it just fall back to Tuesday because the resolution said on the calendar, and because on the calendar it's changed to Monday, correct? So do we just move it? Do we need to?
I think we have plenty of time to move it. I mean, it's not like it's the week before and we're changing it. There's plenty of notice. So I don't know that we need to vote, would be my vote.
Any other comments about what to do?
I think based on what the resolution says and what I agree with Katie, I don't think there is like a formal vote necessary. And I do agree, like giving, it's a month lead time. So I think the only issue would be if multiple administrators or multiple board members had already scheduled and couldn't come on Tuesday. But I think without any presented conflict, I think it just changes it. And, even at our next board meeting, we remind the public that it will still be on the Tuesday.
Okay, all right. So we will, during this meeting, and it will be in the minutes as we're discussing it, that we will move, and somebody look at their calendar so that we can have the correct. It's the third right now. Okay, so we are officially changing Monday, November 3rd's meeting to Tuesday, November 4th. Okay, so again, that will be in our notes, and Dr. Thompson, if you can have our PR person communicate that.
Yeah, we'll be sure to get that communicated out in multiple different ways.
Yes, okay. All right, very well. Any other? Okay, seeing no other, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session SDCL 1-25-2.1 and 2.3.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor, roll call, please.
Troy Carr,
Yes.
Jamie Clapham,
Yes.
Katie Urban,
Yes.
Walt Swan,
Yes.
and Angela Rafferty.
Yes.
Okay, and there's Mrs. Clapham's cat that.
He said yes.
Yeah, tell him you can't come to the executive session for board members. All right, board members, we will exit out of this Zoom and join the other Zoom thingamabobber. All right, everyone.